Welcome to the Five-week Linguist Show. If you want to learn a language or you teach a language, you've come to the right place. Join Janina each week for tips, resources, and advice for making engaging language learning happen anytime, anywhere.
Welcome to the Five-week Linguist Show. This week we're going to talk all about Google Meet. And when I talk about Google Meet, I want to include, any video conferencing app that's out there, because I think they're all very similar. And as somebody very wisely pointed out to me last year, they're all plagiarizing off each other. They're all taking features from each other because they're good. So it's just been astounding how in record time these apps have improved and done so much for us. I think it's an amazing contribution that Google Meet made to learning and working during the pandemic. So many people, all of a sudden, so many businesses, the world economy in so many ways relied really heavily on this technology, and it developed really quickly. And I think regardless of what happens in the future, with learning, there's some amazing activities that we get to keep from Google Meet for all different kinds of learning settings. So one activity I wanted to talk about are dialogues. So a few weeks ago, I talked about Google Slides, and I didn't talk about dialogues in Google Slides then because I want to talk about them now. So basically, if you have a situation, a dialogue that you want students to do, or that even you want to do, this is a great independent language learning activity. So think about an exchange that you would need to be able to have. Let's just say we're at the airport checking in. So, let's say that you've got your Foreign Service Institute dialogue or from your book or whatever it is, you can get a Google slide and find a picture of it. And you can then share your screen, and two people on the Meet do this. You can also do this on your own with Google Slides and record it. It's a great practice activity for an independent learner. But for dialogues, taking two people in the class and they have that conversation and the visuals right up there with them. I love Canva, and I have Canva in my Google Drive, and Canva has the most amazing images, and that's where I tend to get my images to make a slideshow of whatever dialogues that are going to be practiced or done that day. And it's great. The next activity is Quizlet. So I love Quizlet. I think a lot of people like Kahoot, which is very similar. It's basically, interactive online quiz games. And the language teachers have been on Quizlet for a long time. So there are so many pre-built sets of any theme, grammar, anything you can imagine. Language teachers, I know there's other subjects there, but the language teachers are really strong there. They've been building that content there for years. And you get a certain number of students, and they log in to the code that's generated, or they do the QR code with the app, and you have an instant game. You can even just stick that in the chat box and everyone plays. It's really, really fun. And again, Kahoot's really quite good, but I'm definitely loyal to Quizlet because they've been so great. Immersive comprehensible input. So if you're in a situation where you're online for whatever reason, it's a snow day, or you're working with your italki tutor, right? You're an independent learner, or you're an italki teacher. I love being able to show websites on on there, and then you can ask lots of questions. So let's say clothes, a department store, you're teaching culture and language, asking and answering questions. There's this abundant amount of resources that are available that can be shared through Meet. When I was working on French, and it was fantastic. I don't even know if Google Meet existed then, but the video conferencing that we were working on, she would send me articles all the time through our video conferencing, and I had things to read, and she would also put corrections in the chat box. It was amazing. So it's just a great way to access that world. This simple website, simple article that she read in the morning and thought, wow, I would really like it, I all of a sudden have access to. So it's an amazing tool to share culture at every level, for beginners, intermediate, and advanced, right? The sharing culture with learners of languages. One of the tools that I think is the coolest is the chat function. So a few years ago, I interviewed Benny Lewis, and he told me something that I thought was so clever. Actually, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But another way to use these video conferencing functions is to do collaborative guest speaker or collaborative cultural and linguistic immersion. And I usually use italki, for my speaking with a native speaker. I know there's other sites out there, or my cousins, cousins, friends, that kind of thing, people essentially. But I'll link below to the episode where we talk about that, because whatever your video conferencing is, you can do that there too. And there have been times where the sound didn't work, or video didn't work on both ends, and one of us has had to use the chat function, right? Either I've asked a question, they can't hear me, so I've asked a question in the chat box and they've talked, or vice versa. But back to Benny Lewis, I did this out of just necessity, being able to get through the conversation, right? But what Benny Lewis shared with me that I thought was so clever is, he forces himself to get on italki right away. So in doing that, even if he can't speak, he uses the chat function. So he's having a conversation. And, one of the beauties of doing the language learning with video conferencing is, as the learner, you get to practice, but most importantly, you're getting all this input from these more skilled speakers. So, and it's a way to just get right into that culture, communicating in that culture right away. And so I thought that was super clever that he didn't even wait till he could say anything. If you've got a few memorized phrases that you can put in the chat box and then listen to the person talking back to you, how brilliant is that? I mean, that's how he makes fast progress in a language, or one of the ways. And I just think it's so clever. So that chat function is really useful. And I think it's really great for students too, because you can ask them a question and they can type in a C or a no, or, there's a lot of interaction with that chat box. So, people can give answers there. And there's not all this pressure to speak on this video conferencing platform. And also, I really like some of the functions with the camera. So you can do things like, Pictionary, and they have to draw what you say and hold it up to the camera. And again, back to being an independent learner, you can use those techniques. Never before in the history of time, before this modern age, has it been possible to speak to somebody in Tokyo and they can show you things in their house and teach you the word for it. For example, I mean, that's just one example out of many. And then they can share with you what's in their newspaper today online, and you get to read it. So I'm so excited to see about where all these technologies are going. Everything's happened so fast for not great reasons, of course, but I think that there will be some really interesting takeaways for language teaching and learning. And if you're using video conferencing in any part of your language teaching or learning, and we didn't talk about what you did today, could you share it with us? I'd love to hear about what you're doing. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the 5-week Linguist Show with Janina Klimas. Join us each week here and visit us at reallifelanguage.com/reallifelanguageblog for more resources for learning and teaching languages.